Hello for the 15th Sunday in Ordinary Time, using two readings, Deuteronomy, Old Testament, chapter 30, 10 to 14, and the New Testament, Luke, chapter 10, 25 to 37. And it deals with a priest, a Levite, and a Samaritan. I don't know if you ever felt this way, but sometimes I do. Why was Jesus so prejudiced against priests or Levites? And why did he make the hero here a Samaritan? Sometimes I think Jesus was prejudiced. Sometimes I think that he might be a little bit prejudiced toward the wealthy and the rich. But today we're going to talk about priests and Samaritans. Well, we just read that. A priest, way back, a priest in the Old Testament at the time of Abraham was the father of the family. And he would offer sacrifice and prayer for their family and the clan. Well, later on, this was not just the father, but it became one of the tribes, the tribe of Levi. They were to take over the sacrificing and the cult worshiping. Although they didn't have any land. The other 11 tribes had their clans and their lands, and that's where they got their money. But the tribe of Levi didn't have any money, so they got their money through what they charged to help out in sacrifices and cult offerings and the temple. It's very complicated, but that's the setting of the scene. And here, in Jesus, uses a priest, a Levite, and a Samaritan. Well, that takes a little history too. The Samaritans were not liked at all by the Jewish people. Why? Well, when the Jews were in captivity and they came back to Jerusalem to redo the city and rebuild the temple, they got into it and put their money and labor into doing just that. And the Samaritans didn't want to do that, did not cooperate. They became the sort of the enemy of the Jews. That's the setting of the story or the parable. And Jesus takes the Samaritan and makes the Samaritan the hero. Remember? He also took a Samaritan woman at the well, and he made her the heroine. Why? Well, I think he's talking about religion. He's talking about worship. He's talking about a relationship with God Almighty, his Father. And he wants us to do true religion. Well, what's true religion? I think true religion is what it says in this story is when we act out of true compassion, when we act out from our heart, when we have feeling for another person, other people, and even acting out of our heart toward the God that we try to know and understand. This Samaritan truly acted out of compassion. Well, the priest, he saw the guy die in the street and he goes the other side and leaves him there to die. The Levite, the official priest in that society then, well, he did the same thing. He saw the dying person in the street there, and he goes on the other side of the street and passes him by. Not the Samaritan. The Samaritan acted out of his heart. The Samaritan acted with compassion. And the point, I think, of Jesus saying is, and even in the book of Deuteronomy, that first reading, that true religion is not something mysterious and remote. True religion is not something up there in the sky. True religion really is not across the oceans, it says. It's very near and dear to you. It's inside. It's how you think, how you feel, what compassion and sympathy that you have. That's way back when. Book of Deuteronomy is in the 700 BCs when it was written all down. That's what Jesus is referring to. He didn't always use those words, though, did he? Well, he used those other words in the Old Testament way back then when love your neighbor as yourself. It wasn't just his idea. Love God with your whole heart, mind, and soul. That wasn't just his idea. That's true religion, is what we do, loving our neighbor and loving our God. So, I don't care what kind of a Christian you are or a Catholic you may be, but if you don't have and act out of your heart, it's not going to be true religion. The Good Samaritan acted out of his heart with compassion. And there his neighbor was, there, right in the street. Well, the priest, the Levite, he had a heart too. He was also in the street. And he in the street and the person dying, it's all there. It's not across the sea. It's not up in the sky. It's right then and there. So Jesus, somehow, he always seems to get the nitty gritty bottom line. And he tells a story about it. What's your feeling about, was Jesus prejudiced against priests or the wealthy or any other group? Or was Jesus really interested in the heart, in your heart, in my heart, in how we think and how we feel? Start with feeling. Start with insight. And then move toward your neighbor. Then move toward your God. Classical text today. The Good Samaritan. Indeed, it's a great story. Have a good day.